That's better. Is this laser a game changer for woodworking? A couple of years ago, lasers were something that was used by factories exclusively, and Superman. Then came the diode lasers that us hobbyists could buy, mainly for engraving stuff at home. And since then, they've gone through some changes. They are getting quicker and stronger every year, and this year they went from 10 watt and doubled up to 20 watt. And I don't think we're done there. The next thing could actually be 40 watts. But I imagine there are some issues with the power going into those machines that they need to solve. But with the 20 watts, it means that they can both engrave and cut a lot of different materials. Today I'm going to try out the Xtool D1 Pro 20 watt version. The machine comes somewhat pre-assembled. All you need to do is follow the extremely well-made manual. A colored print. I haven't seen that since, well, it's because we have the internet now and most companies could just scrap the waste and put it online, but anyways. They are soft and shiny. And they smell good too. Once the machine is assembled, you connect it to the computer through the USB cable that came with the machine, or if you're on a newer Mac like me, you need to get an USB-C cable or an adapter. Xtool, unlike many other laser companies, have their own software that can be used directly with the laser, and it's free. But if you want to use Lightburn instead, you can do that too. My experience with the Xtool Creative Space, which is what their app is called, is that it has some issues here and there. But for general use, it works great. For the most part, I use Lightburn, and bear in mind it's a paid software currently priced at $60. You can, however, use the trial version and make up your mind if it's something that you want to buy. The way the laser works is that they have 4 lasers mirrored and combined into one. The power going into the machine is 120 watts, which can be a bit confusing at times. The output of the laser is what we're really interested in. The laser spot is 0.08 by 0.10 millimeters, which is actually pretty small. Their 10 watt version does 0.08 by 0.06. And if you want to compare it to a CO2 laser, that has a laser dot of around 0.01 by 0.01 millimeters. The laser has a maximum speed of 400 millimeters per second or 24,000 millimeters a minute, which is really fast and not really reliable. We'll get to that later. The total working area is 430 millimeters by 390 millimeters. And I do appreciate that because most lasers usually do 400 by 400 millimeters. And I have been limited by that at times where I just want to go a bit longer and not necessarily wider. With the risers that come with the machine, you can raise the machine to engrave thicker material or for using the rotary attachment. There are limit switches on all axes, and these are kind of magnetic, which means they won't wear out as fast. Although I did have an issue with mine in the top left corner of the machine being too far away from the sensor to reach it. I'm not sure why really, but I managed to move it a little bit towards the center and now it's working fine. The design of the chassis is very robust. It's a rigid frame and the belts are somewhat protected as they run inside of the frame. For an additional price of $119, you can add this, which is an air assist, which will do a lot of help with charring, whilst cutting especially. And if you already have the original Xtool D1 with the 10 watt version, you can actually buy the 20 watt laser separately for $599. The laser module has a protective casing, there's a flame detector and a tilt protection from a built-in gyroscope, so any smoke, flames or tilting will turn off the machine. But make sure to use this in a well-ventilated area. I usually open up all the doors in my workshop when using it. Now let's try this machine out. To To start off, let's try some basic engraving, and to get the correct settings you can either try the settings out to find what you want, or you can engrave some test pieces to get a sense of what speeds and power settings you need for your particular project. I made like a vector of my head and I tried running this at full speed, but after a while it apparently didn't like the look of my face, so it started shifting on me. And this is what came out. So I decided to give it another go, even though I wasn't sure why this happened. So instead of using Lightburn, I tried their Creative Space app and it made this. It's a bit better, but still it made something weird with the top of my head. So then I tightened the belts. That is really easy, by the way. You simply unscrew the hold screw and then you can adjust it with the screw at the end. And that is the same for all axes. And then I tried engraving again at full speed, but it seems like it can't quite handle the speed. It looks like it kind of accelerates in one direction too much. It does, however, seem to be a software issue rather than a hardware issue. And when running the machine at lower speeds, there was no issue at all with the engraving. I did try cutting 3mm plywood to make some coasters, and that was very easy. I have a honeycomb bed, and that is something they sell as an accessory as well, and it's preventing charring on the underside of the piece you're cutting. And that will actually make a huge difference. I also tried engraving stainless steel, and that works just fine. The details look really good. Cutting leather works really good as well. With the air assist connected, it does a really good job. I also tried cutting this 10mm thick birch plywood, and at first I ran it a bit slow and it started burning. Then I did speed it up and ran it again around 4 passes and it did cut through. But I wouldn't be using this for cutting that thick wood. But for cutting thinner plywood, it does a really good job. The rotary attachment is actually really cool. It can be used with the roller or with the chuck, and the chuck can be adapted a bunch of different ways for different thickness materials. It is connected to the machine, and in the software you just choose to use the rotary instead. While trying the machine out, I was really impressed. The 20 watt is not only great for cutting, it also does a really good job with engraving with good detail. I did cut this entire card box from 3mm plywood using different settings with and without air assist. And I will say I think the honeycomb bed is actually better than the air assist at preventing charring. They do have a pretty good chart of settings on their website, which can help you find the correct settings for the specific material. And when engraving steel, it also does a really good job. They say it can create colors while engraving stainless steel, and I'm sure it can if you fiddle around with the settings. You can probably get some cool color transitions. Now for cutting, I did cut the coaster both with and without the air assist, and as you can see there's a bit of a difference. So if your intentions are to be cutting with this machine, you will need the air assist as well as the honeycomb bed. What I think most people will use the machine for is engraving stuff, personalized things, cutting boards, whatnot. And for that, I think this works just perfectly. It can run really fast and engraving larger items can be made really quick. But where this machine really shines is when cutting, because if you only want to engrave, you can do just fine with the 10 watt version. Some of the downsides of the machine: I wasn't super impressed with the air assist they provided. I did try another one I had, which actually provided a lot more air pressure, and that did prevent even more charring on the surface. Everything around Xtool seems very well thought through, even down to the packaging. I'm still not sure what happened when I ran it at full speed. I did try engraving some text as well, and that worked just fine at full speed. So would I buy this or the competitor, the AtomStack X20 Pro? The main difference of the two is the speed of the machine. The AtomStack only does half the speed. I'm not sure it would be a tight call, but I think my preference would actually be the AtomStack machine. The price is a bit lower, and also included in that package is the air assist, and that air assist is actually a bit better. But I'm not sure, what would you prefer? So, is it a game changer for woodworking? Both yes and no. It still can't compare with a really strong CO2 laser, which can cut through really thick wood with a thin kerf. It can actually cut through thinner wood, acrylic, leather and whatnot. And with the ability to engrave on almost anything, It does really give every hobby woodworker the possibility to brand their own stuff at a reasonably low cost. That's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.